Further debate? The member for Thornhill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I kind of get chills hearing this topic because I think many of you know that I had a very close race in the general election in June. And it's certainly true that every vote counts. I remember my first campaign meeting, the first time I worked on a campaign for Peter Kent, who's the MP in my riding, and Tony Clement. We had sort of a conference call with Tony Clement in the campaign office, and Tony Clement, basically that's all he spoke about, is that every single vote counts. He only won by 40 votes, I believe he said, in his first time running. And when you're dealing with thousands of votes, I think in June it was a total of 51,000 plus votes in Thornhill, and the unofficial number was 86 for my opponent. Then it was flipped, 86 in my favour, and then after the recount it went up to 106 in my favour. Well, all of those numbers, whether it's 86 or 106, it works out to basically a statistical tie. And in terms of Elections Ontario, I can't speak on whether or not people were voting who shouldn't have voted, but that's always a concern. And it's certainly a concern when people, call and they say, I saw my neighbour voting, and I know they're not a Canadian citizen. They're a U.S. citizen, or they've immigrated from another country, but they were told by whatever campaign that they were supporting that go ahead, nobody asks, and you can vote. And people say to me, what should I do? Should I call the police? Well, I have never recommended to anybody to contact the police on their neighbour. But I'm often left wondering what is the correct protocol and what Elections Ontario would want people to do. All I have done is directed people to Elections Ontario and hope that these concerns are taken seriously. I'm very concerned about not just who's voting, but who's working at elections. Because even though Elections Ontario did do their job, they audit the day after Election Day, and they found mistakes, several mistakes in fact, where the numbers on the ballot envelopes were reversed, so that my higher number was given to my opponent and her lower number were given to me, and it happened several times, always in my opponent's favour, that the numbers were reversed onto the tally sheets, Mr. Speaker. And Elections Ontario did their job because they did 5 audits, and each time they caught every single one of those mistakes and reversed it. So I cannot criticize Elections Ontario for the audits, but I can question who's working at those desks, and are they keeping track of where those mistakes were, and either the people working at those desks or those stations were committing some kind of fraud, in which case they shouldn't be rehired next election, or they were making mistakes, in which case they shouldn't be rehired the next election. And even if the other people at that station weren't involved in any of these quote-unquote mistakes, they were supposed to be supervising each other, to the best of my knowledge, so they maybe dropped the ball in terms of supervising. So I would ask Elections Ontario to focus on ensuring that the people working at elections are up to the calibre that we need, and also to look at the concerns brought forward by this motion to ensure that the people who are voting in our elections and are registered to vote are the ones who indeed should be voting. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.